Chairman, I rise in support of my amendment, number 41, to H.R. 8998, which prevents the Bureau of Land Management from finalizing, implementing, administering, or enforcing its Western Solar Plan. On January 19, 2024, the BLM published a Notice of Availability for the newly introduced Programmatic Environmental Impact Assessment and corresponding Research Management Plan Amendment. This plan amendment will have serious implications regarding current uses of public lands throughout the West, and particularly in my home state of Wyoming. The plan amendment would implement sweeping changes to resource management plans, or RMPs, in 11 states on 162 million acres and affecting hundreds of counties in the West. In Wyoming alone, it will impact 18 million acres of land. I've heard from many county officials in Wyoming that this plan amendment simply glosses over the analysis that would otherwise be given in a planning document developed at a local level. This planning amendment is detached from the priorities held by most Western communities when it comes to economic development on their public lands. I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of my amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Maine seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I claim time in opposition to this amendment.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are here to protect the welfare of the American public, and we cannot close our eyes to the impacts of climate change, such as the drought, flooding, severe storm, and wildfire events we are experiencing. Climate change has reached a crisis point, and we must take bold action to avoid a major irreversible catastrophe. And we must invest in renewable energy if we are to tackle this problem. This short-sighted amendment does not prepare this nation to address climate change by prohibiting funds for updating a roadmap for solar energy development across the West that is designed to expand solar energy production and make renewable energy siting and permitting on Americans' public lands more efficient. I urge my colleagues to join me in opposing this amendment, and I reserve.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman is recognized.
I want to push back against the false narrative that solar energy is actually clean energy or would protect our environment. This has actually become a political battle for government subsidies. Many power companies are being subsidized tens of millions of dollars for so-called clean energy, and the American people are paying the price for it. Just across the state line in Nebraska in July of 2023, the panels of a solar farm in Scottsbluff, Nebraska were destroyed in a hailstorm only to be taken to a landfill because they are not recyclable. Even when solar panels aren't destroyed by hailstorms or other extreme weather events, they gradually stop producing electricity and reach the end of their lives in less than 20 years. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, over 78 million tons of solar panels will come to the point and will be filling a landfill near you. Aren't we all glad about that? Only about 10% of solar panels are recyclable, and those that are recyclable, only a small part of a single solar panel contains recoverable minerals. There are many other examples of solar panel catastrophes related to extreme weather events, including filling rivers with shards of panels and other events that hurt wildlife and fisheries. But above all, these concerns are the fact that they replace affordable and reliable energy sources with expensively subsidized, non-reliable power that results in power companies looking to the spot market to mitigate for what they cannot produce when the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow. This Western Solar Plan is forcing energy poverty on our communities. It's taking our productive economic activities away and replacing them with non-reliable and unaffordable energy. It's impacting jobs in Wyoming and starving our communities of the essential services that are funded by our more productive industries. I don't believe in energy poverty, and for that reason, I urge my colleagues to vote for this amendment, and with that, I reserve.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman is recognized.
I reserve.
One of the things about this plan is that it includes an irrelevant socioeconomic analysis that neglects to consider the most important activities impacted by this proposal. It reviews without explanation the population, employment, income, state sales and income tax revenues, housing, and state and local government expenditures, but fails to address a very significant and important variable, which is the fact that the largest contributor to the funding of local governments in the state is through our energy producers. The BLM's socioeconomic analysis doesn't include anything related to the loss of revenue generated by our most important revenue-generating industries in the state, and that is very telling. This plan should not go forward, and I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of my amendment, and with that, I reserve.
Reserves. Gentlewoman reserves.
I'm ready to close.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
You close. I mean, you go first. I close.
The gentlewoman from Maine has a right to close last. So the gentlewoman of Wyoming is recognized.
Wonderful. Quite ironically, this plan amendment directly impacts mining of trona, which is developed into soda ash, which is a critical component in many industrial and consumer products, including flat glass, solar energy infrastructure. The known sodium leasing area located within the Green River Basin encompasses 1,100 square miles within the BLM's Rock Springs and Kemmerer field offices. Searching where the U.S. produces most of its trona, it's ironically right where the Biden-Harris administration is trying to force these solar panels. The Biden-Harris administration has failed at every energy policy level since day one. The Western Solar Plan is just one more example of such failure. I urge adoption of my amendment. With that, I yield.
Gentlewoman yields. Gentlewoman from Maine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is my experience. Climate change deniers, the people who want to just support the fossil fuel industry, continually use misinformation, disinformation, social media memes, all kinds of things to argue their point. But the ultimate challenge here is we have an overdependence on fossil fuels. The use of fossil fuels is contributing to too much CO2 in the atmosphere, which has created this extreme weather that we now have to live through and experience, whether it's the heat, whether it's the flooding, whether it's the extreme storms, whatever it is. And if we care about the future of our planet, if we truly believe that it is our job as elected officials to protect the American public, we can't close our eyes to these impacts of climate change. So arguing about where things are manufactured or how they're disposed is a way of avoiding the fact that we have to move into renewable energy, and that is our challenge today. Of course, we don't want to use things that are strictly manufactured in China. That's why we passed the IRA, to put more domestic investment in things like solar panels and batteries and the things that we desperately need. And as to this question about end-of-life solar panels, and I wholeheartedly agree, we should recycle as much as we possibly can of everything that we are using in this country. Let me just read this little fact about that. Waste from end-of-life solar panels presents an opportunity to recover valuable materials and create jobs through recycling. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, by 2030, the cumulative value of recoverable raw materials from end-of-life panels globally will be about $450 million, which is equivalent to the cost of raw materials currently needed to produce about 60 million new panels. Diverting solar panels from landfills to recycling saves space in landfills, in addition to capturing the value of raw materials. I am all in favor of recycling them. That's absolutely something that we can accomplish, and those are the facts, not a social media misinformation, disinformation, meme, whatever it is. So I wholeheartedly urge my colleagues to join me in opposing this amendment, and I yield back.